You're chilling on your private dock enjoying the lake breeze when the HOA president storms in, slaps a notice on your boat and declares it's now community property. But what she doesn't know? You hold the ace that could sink their entire Marina empire. Stick around for a tale of docks, drama, and delicious revenge. If you're into epic HOA showdowns where the little guy flips the script on power-hungry Karens, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story like this. Let's dive in. In the quiet lakeside community of Willow Shores, where manicured lawns met the shimmering waters of Lake Evergreen, lived a man named Alex Harper. Alex had inherited his grandfather's modest cabin, complete with a private dock that jutted out into the lake like a welcoming arm. For years it had been his sanctuary, a place where he could fish at dawn, watch sunsets paint the water gold, and escape the petty squabbles that plagued the neighborhood. But Willow Shores was governed by a homeowners association, a beast of bureaucracy led by the iron-fisted Margaret Thorne, the HOA president whose reputation for nitpicking rivaled that of a hawk eyeing its prey. Margaret, a retired accountant with a penchant for power, had long-eyed Alex's dock with envy. It was one of the few private structures left in the community, untouched by the HOA's creeping regulations that had turned the once-free marina into a tightly controlled domain. The marina itself was the jewel of Willow Shores, a sprawling complex of slips, boat ramps, and clubhouse facilities that drew residents together for barbecues and boating excursions. But beneath the surface calm, tensions simmered. Alex had always kept to himself, paying his dues on time but avoiding the endless meetings where Margaret wielded her gavel like a scepter. One crisp autumn morning, as leaves danced on the water's edge, Alex noticed a group of workers hammering signs around his dock. Community property. HOA managed, they read. His heart sank as he approached, only to be met by Margaret herself, clipboard in hand, her lips pursed in that signature smug smile she reserved for victories. She explained in her clipped tone that a recent survey had revealed his dock encroached on communal waters, and thus it was being seized for the greater good. Alex's protests fell on deaf ears. The board had voted unanimously, she claimed, though he suspected it was her solo crusade. The workers continued their task, installing locks on the access gate and rerouting paths to integrate it into the main marina. By evening, Alex's boat was relocated to a communal slip, and his private haven was gone, absorbed into the HOA's empire. He spent that night poring over old documents in his cabin, the flickering lamp casting shadows on yellowed papers from his grandfather's era. What he uncovered in those dusty files began to stir a fire in his chest, deeds and maps hinting at forgotten rights tied to his property. But for now the loss stung deeply, a wound that festered as he watched neighbors casually use what was once his. Days turned into weeks, and the seizure rippled through Alex's life like waves from a passing speedboat. He found himself queuing for slip assignments, enduring Margaret's lectures on proper boat maintenance and biting his tongue during HOA gatherings where she paraded the new acquisition as her triumph. Whispers among residents painted Alex as the stubborn holdout, unwilling to share for the community's benefit. Yet, in the solitude of his cabin, Alex delved deeper into his grandfather's legacy. The old man had been a shrewd investor, purchasing not just the cabin but slivers of land around the lake, including a narrow strip that controlled access to the marina's main channel, buried in county records which Alex visited under the guise of historical research, were easements and water rights that predated the HOA by decades. His grandfather had granted permissive use to the community, but with clauses allowing revocation, under certain conditions like unauthorized alterations. The dock seizure, he realized, violated those very terms. Excitement bubbled within him, but he played it cool, attending meetings with a feigned resignation that masked his brewing plan. Meanwhile, Margaret's reign grew bolder. She imposed new fees for marina usage, fining those who didn't comply with her aesthetic standards. Boats had to be white or blue, no exceptions. Alex watched as friends grumbled but acquiesced, fearing her wrath. One evening, as fog rolled over the lake, Alex stood on the shore, staring at the marina lights twinkling like distant stars. The weight of injustice pressed on him, but so did the power he now held. He knew confronting Margaret directly would alert her, so he bided his time, gathering evidence like a detective in the shadows. Letters to lawyers, quiet consultations with surveyors, all pieces of a puzzle that would soon upend the status quo. The community buzzed with preparations for the annual boat parade, Margaret's pet event, unaware that beneath the festive veneer, a storm was gathering. Alex's resolve hardened. The dock was more than wood and nails. It was his heritage, and he would reclaim it, no matter the cost. As winter's chill began to grip Willow Shores, Alex felt ready to make his move, but first he needed to ensure every detail was ironclad. The natural break came when the first snowflakes dusted the docks, signaling a pause in the boating season, and a moment for reflection before the real confrontation unfolded. As the snow blanketed Willow Shores in a deceptive peace, Alex Harper's plan took shape in the dim glow of his cabin's fireplace. The marina lay dormant under ice, boats hauled out and covered, but the HOA's grip remained firm. Margaret Thorne, undeterred by the season, hosted indoor meetings in the clubhouse where she outlined grand expansions for the coming spring. More slips, stricter rules, all funded by increased dues. Alex attended these sessions, notebook in hand, jotting notes that seemed compliant but were actually ammunition. His research had revealed the full extent of his grandfather's foresight. Not only did Alex own the access strip to the main channel, but historical permits showed the entire marina's operation hinged on an easement through his land. Without it, boats couldn't navigate freely, effectively landlocking the facility. The seizure of his dock had breached a non-disturbance clause, giving him legal grounds to revoke the easement. He consulted a sharp attorney, one specializing in property disputes, who confirmed the strategy's viability. "It's a nuclear option," the lawyer had warned, but Alex saw no other path. Diplomacy had failed when Margaret ignored his initial appeals. In the meantime, community tensions escalated. Margaret's latest edict banned certain boat types, deeming them unsightly, forcing several residents to sell at a loss. Grumbles turned to outright complaints, but fear of fines kept rebellions in check. Alex, blending into the background, subtly encouraged these dissenters during casual encounters at the local diner, planting seeds of doubt about the HOA's overreach without revealing his hand. One stormy night, as winds howled across the frozen lake, Alex compiled his dossier, deeds, maps, legal opinions, into a formidable packet. He imagined the shock on Margaret's face when served, but savored the anticipation. Spring thaw brought renewal, and with it, the marina's reopening. Boats splashed back into the water and the boat parade loomed, a spectacle Margaret touted as the community's pinnacle. Alex chose this moment to strike, filing a formal notice with the county to revoke the easement. Copies went to the HOA board, arriving like thunderclaps in their mailboxes. Panic ensued. Emergency meetings were called, with Margaret at the helm, her composure cracking as lawyers pored over the documents. The realization dawned. Without Alex's permission, the marina's channel would close, stranding dozens of boats and halting all water access. Negotiations began, tense and fraught, with Margaret attempting to bully her way through. But Alex stood firm, backed by ironclad law. Concessions trickled in, return of his dock, exemptions from fees, but Alex demanded more, reforms to curb the HOA's power, including term limits for officers. As word spread, residents rallied behind him, their suppressed frustrations boiling over into support. Margaret's allies dwindled, isolated by her own authoritarianism. The boat parade proceeded, but under a cloud of uncertainty, with Alex watching from his reclaimed dock, a symbol of his quiet victory. Yet the full shutdown loomed if terms weren't met, a sword hanging over the marina. Weeks of back-and-forth wore on, but Alex's patience paid off. The HOA capitulated, signing agreements that restored his rights and dismantled many oppressive rules. The community breathed easier, toasting to a new era at impromptu gatherings. Margaret, humiliated, stepped down amid calls for her resignation, her empire crumbling like ice in spring. Alex, however, wasn't done. He ensured safeguards were in place to prevent future overreaches, turning his personal battle into a communal triumph. As summer sun warmed the lake once more, the marina thrived under fairer governance. Boats gliding freely through the channel Alex controlled, but generously allowed. He sat on his dock at dusk, line in water, reflecting on the journey from loss to leverage. The experience had changed him, forging a guardian of sorts for Willow Shores. Whispers of his feat spread beyond the lake, inspiring others in similar binds. But for now, peace reigned, the waters calm until perhaps another challenge arose. The natural break arrived with the fading light, hinting at lingering echoes that might resurface in unexpected ways. With the summer in full bloom over Willow Shores, the ripples from Alex Harper's stand against the HOA continued to spread, transforming the community in profound ways. The marina, once a fortress of control under Margaret Thorne, now operated with transparency. Its slips filled with boats of all shapes and colors, free from arbitrary bans. Alex's revocation threat had forced a complete overhaul. New bylaws limited the president's powers, mandatory audits ensured fair dues, and resident input became mandatory for major decisions. Margaret, ousted in a landslide vote, retreated to her home. Her influence shattered, occasionally glimpsed pruning her roses with a bitterness that spoke volumes. Alex, hailed as a quiet hero, found himself reluctantly drawn into community affairs, advising on disputes with a wisdom born from his ordeal. His dock, fully restored and private once more, served as a reminder of what one person could achieve against entrenched power. Yet not all was serene. Former board members loyal to Margaret simmered with resentment, plotting subtle underminings. Whispers of a counter-lawsuit reached Alex, prompting him to fortify his position with additional legal protections. He discovered, through further archival digs, that his grandfather had embedded even more safeguards. Underground utilities and water lines routed through his property, essential for the marina's operations. This revelation amplified his leverage, ensuring any aggression would trigger a total shutdown, from power to pumps. As festivals dotted the lakeside calendar, Alex navigated these undercurrents with caution, allying with like-minded residents to form a watchdog group. The group monitored HOA activities, preventing regressions and fostering a spirit of cooperation. One sweltering afternoon, during a community regatta, tensions peaked when a Margaret sympathizer attempted to sabotage Alex's boat, loosening moorings in a petty act of revenge. The incident, caught on newly installed cameras, another reform Alex championed, led to swift consequences, further eroding old guard support. The regatta continued triumphantly, with Alex crossing the finish line amid cheers, symbolizing the community's rebirth. In the aftermath, healing began. Barbecues bridged divides. Stories shared over bonfires mended fences. Alex reflected on the irony. His grandfather's legacy, meant for quiet enjoyment, had become a catalyst for change. The marina flourished, attracting visitors who marveled at its inclusive vibe, boosting local pride. Alex, content in his cabin, occasionally hosted informal gatherings on his dock, sharing tales of the battle that had redefined Willow Shores. As autumn leaves returned, painting the lake in fiery hues, the community stood stronger, united against overreach. Alex's victory wasn't just personal. It echoed as a beacon for others facing similar tyrants, proving that hidden rights could topple empires. The story closed with Alex casting his line at dawn, the sun rising on a horizon free of shadows, a testament to resilience and clever retribution. If you enjoyed this wild ride of HOA revenge, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more dramatic tales that'll have you cheering for justice. Drop your own HOA horror stories in the comments below. Who knows, yours might inspire the next script.